The inmates in California are running amok. What is transpiring within the California model is not rehabilitation. They are failing to address the fact that these are inmates that have had an upbringing, indoctrination into gangs. CDCR controlled the narrative for a very, very long time. The only people that knew what was happening inside of there was the people that worked there and the inmates in there. Hopeless in prison is f***ing bad, man, let me tell you. My full name is Hector Bravo Ferrel. So I worked for the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for 16 years. I began in November of 2006, and I ultimately resigned in December of 2022. The way I started out as a prison guard was, my father was a CO, started in 1993, began learning about the career in high school, career day, and ultimately the goal was to join the military at the age of 17 and then get out at 21 and then apply for corrections. My goal was to do 30 years, 28 years, up until my retirement age of 50. There were so many changes that transpired within those 16 years, man. Policy changes became very dangerous, very unsafe. The California model originated from a lady. She took a trip to Norway, more of a quote-unquote rehabilitative, friendly, be friends with the inmates type of mentality.
Welcome to the California model, a revolutionary initiative transforming the incarceration system for all, committed to improving the well-being of those who live in, work in, and visit state prisons.
The first half of my career, the first 8 years, was a real unique time because all the prison gang leaders, the Mexican Mafia members, the Nuestra Familia members, Black Guerrilla Family, and Aryan Brotherhood members, they were all locked away in the SHU, in the security housing unit. Fast forward to the California model, prison gang leaders got released from the SHU, but we did see an uptick in murders. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation had a general population side, which is your regular GP, inmates, your gang members, your murderers, your robbers, and then it had a sensitive needs yards, SNY, which is, in essence, is protective custody. That houses child molesters, gang dropouts, informants, rats. With the California model, somebody got the bright idea to mix GP and SNY inmates, in essence, enemies. So we were getting instruction from our captains, our associate wardens, not to lock up inmates, not to place them in the administrative segregation. Well, these inmates were stabbing and slashing each other in hopes of going to the hole so that they can get removed off that yard, but we were not removing them off that yard. So in essence, they were committing a lot of violence and not going anywhere. So that frustrated them to the point where they knew they had to hit a correctional officer. They had to stab a correctional officer in order for them to finally get removed. And I had told my staff too beforehand, I said, hey, get ready, they're gonna start hitting us. From 6 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, every time those cell doors open, they came after us. Prison riots can happen for numerous reasons. The inmates racially segregate themselves. That can start a riot, man. Simply walking in somebody else's area, we cannot go over and change people's whole ideology. They are failing to address the fact that these are inmates that have had an upbringing, indoctrination into gangs. New Corcoran, there's a video of the Fresno Bulldogs getting put on a yard. They're in their red jumpsuits. There's no correctional officers in sight. Sureños and norteños start attacking those Fresno Bulldogs, man. Start stabbing them in the throat. He almost got decapitated by the cane. It's a miracle he didn't die. It left an unsettling feeling in my stomach. Everything they're saying is totally opposite of survival. CDCR controlled the narrative for a very long time because the only people that knew what was happening inside of there was the people that worked there and the inmates in there. And if you're an employee, you are forbidden to speak about what happens in there without fear of retaliation or harassment or being terminated. And ultimately, you cannot cover up 72 dead bodies, 2 of which were 2 visitors, 2 female visitors strangled to death. Cesar Hernandez, a level 4 general population convicted murderer, escaped from Kern Valley State Prison. That's a fact. And that had never happened prior to the California model. In 2025, the inmates in California are running amok. They're running amok. It's a free-for-all. What is transpiring within the California model is not rehabilitation. If an inmate assaults a staff member, you don't reward the inmate by playing a game of foosball with him right afterwards. You have these new officers telling them to befriend these inmates. So not only is it setting you up for violent encounters, but it's also setting you up for manipulation. And inmates are masters of manipulation. We have been seeing incidents that have never really transpired within CDCR before. One of them, a female correctional officer at Sierra Conservation Center in Jamestown. She was working in the control booth up in the tower, and an inmate managed to sneak his way up there into the tower where there's a rifle, and over an 8-hour span, he proceeded to rape her. And this is all after the California model has been enacted. And if it was working, I would be fair enough to say it was working. But the 72 murders and the numerous attempted murders on correctional officers shows that it's not working. There's no more safety and security. There's no more consequences for people's actions. We just had an inmate murder 3 people, 3 other inmates in a year time span. How did that happen? There was an attempted murder on 2 correctional officers at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, August 2020. It was a Mexican mafia member. He was drunk with his entourage. They walk around with bodyguards. Apparently some words were exchanged between the correctional officer and the inmates, and they viciously attacked them with weapons. They stabbed the correctional officer all up in his mouth, knocked his teeth in, took the officer's baton, crushed his face. It's a miracle that these officers didn't die. They got stabbed, beat up, pepper sprayed with their own pepper spray. And what did the warden do at that time? He covered it up. How do I know this? Because I was a public information officer at the time, the PIO. I was the warden's right-hand man. An associate warden blew the whistle by sending an email saying, hey, this attempted murder happened because of the incompetent warden, the incompetent captain, and the chief deputy warden. And I got a call from headquarters from the director's office saying, hey, we need you to type up a letter to the media refuting those allegations against our managers. And I'm like, refuting? Why would I refute what is the truth? And 5 minutes later, I get an email saying, hey, don't worry about that letter. We already typed one up. And in that letter that she wrote to the public, it said, CDCR headquarters has full support of the administration at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. There has been no wrongdoings found. And I was absolutely disgusted, man, because it hadn't even been a day, and there had not even been an investigation. Once I realized that headquarters, Sacramento, had covered up the attempted murders of those 2 correctional officers, I knew how far the corruption went up. The last and final straw for me to quit was we had an associate director come down from headquarters to Donovan Prison and speak to all of us supervisors at the conference table. And this is what he proceeded to tell us. If an inmate tells you he does not want to be placed in handcuffs, you will not place him in handcuffs. So we were all confused and told him, like, no, that's not going to happen. You know, penal code dictates that we can place an inmate in handcuffs for our safety. And he said, no, we don't do what penal code does. That's what cops on the street do. If you do it, you're going to get in trouble. So I realized that they were blatantly violating the law, all to push an agenda. If I can turn back the hand of time to 2009, a perfect CDCR model would be release the inmates from the SHU, put them in a certain prison, okay? Crack down more on the inmates going to the sensitive needs yard, cut off the intake to SNY unless it was a legitimate reason, and implement rehabilitative programs at that time. Substance abuse, counselors, mental health treatment. When the laws changed in around 2014-ish, that's when these lifers started getting action and started going home. I saw the change in the inmates' behavior when it comes to hope. Hopeless in prison is f***ing bad, man, let me tell you. So if there could be a perfect system, it would have been in 2009, but give them hope. I resigned at the age of 38. It did cross my mind to stick around and do my full career and collect a pension. How much value would that hold that I finished off my career, went along with the BS, and then now all of a sudden I want to talk, and now all of a sudden I want to blow the whistle? In hindsight, I figured it was paramount that I do it then and there while it was happening, real time. And I felt that it would hold more value. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation have opened up investigations into seeing who's contacting me, who's talking to me, who may or may not be sending me information So they're actually utilizing taxpayer money and state resources to try to go after people that want to do the right thing. They said that I got fired from the prison system. That's false and inaccurate. They said that I quit because I was going to get fired. That's false and inaccurate. I believe I'm living my purpose. I believe I'm living my passion. There's a reason why I didn't die in Iraq when I should have very well died, and a lot of my brothers did. There's a reason why I worked in the California Department of Corrections and saw what I saw and was able to leave and speak out on it. I believe my purpose is to speak to the masses, educate them, and you're right, I wasn't an outsider. I know exactly what it is to be human. It's a gift. It's a gift. And a lot of people take that for granted.